what I really like about fashion is that it's like, like music, it's self-expression. So you can kind of like show a bit of your character, like how you are as a person, but it's like more direct than music also. Like you can, like with music, you first have to like listen to something, and like, I don't know, and with fashion, you see someone and you kind of like know how they are, if that makes sense, which I think is really nice. So I always like to, um, speaking from a musical standpoint, I really like fashion because it's really good for um, highlighting certain things in the music. So in dress code, and like you can easily like saying something in a suit is different than saying something in a beautiful red dress or something. And with music, um, it's the same. And I think it's really nice how these things correspond. I mean, I think as a woman in jazz, you're already by nature propagating. Like, I think it's in the job description somehow. So I think it's very important to be aware of it and to realize the situation and not underestimate things. On the other hand, I also think it's important to also, put yourself on like some kind of like heroic judge justice warrior kind of statue or something, and like just also be like, hey, I'm just a musician, I might as well just make some music, and not take yourself too seriously also, and at the same time. And besides that, I also really like using the fact that I'm a woman in jazz as like kind of like as a power for me also, like so. I always like to wear at least semi-sexually clothing and such, at least to kind of like empower the fact like, hey, I'm a woman and I'm here on the stage, doing my thing, and I think that's also like in fact, so that's also like something that men can't do because of the fact that they're men also. And I think that it's all very important in that sense. Like it's important to like not take yourself as seriously, but also be aware of the situation and use it to your advantage, but also realize that there's certain lots of disadvantages that come with it also. It was an interesting task. Like I never really like had to do something like that before, so I wasn't really sure what to do. So I tried to first imagine like how would I put something like that in music. So I tried to search for like attributes and like structures that are like both musical but also say something about objects. So with with a scarf, for example, I personally always think about something being it provides comfort, it's warm, it's like very huggable and it's like a nice feeling. It feels very soft, and those are things you can also express in music. So that's like the first thing I thought of when I was thinking about scarves. In that sense, like trying to search for what's both musical and what's both in the object, if that makes sense. So then the other thing I thought of was spirals. Like I like to think in structures when I'm composing generally. So spirals for me are very interesting. And a scarf is basically like it's kind of like repeating and like a snake kind of like going back and forth, and like especially when it's like wrapped around the neck, you don't really know where it begins and where it ends, if it makes sense. So I try to also imitate it with music. It's kind of like ended up in this 11/8 weird note pattern thing that just like keeps spiraling and falling over itself. And I tried to build a melody on top of that, which didn't fit in the same pattern, so it's kind of like you can't lose track of where it begins and where it ends. And then I tried to combine those two things, which ended up in the song. I think that was my working style, I think, but it didn't go as fluent as I now explained it. I took a lot of like banging my head against the wall. In the end, it worked somehow. Yeah. I think many things, I would say. Definitely like every time I finish a finished product, I'm always afraid of people not liking it, which I think is a very human thing. I think everyone has that, like you finish something and you're like, oh no, what if it's shit, like you don't know, like Um, so that's definitely something. Then of course also, normal things, I guess. I think now in the pandemic, I'm definitely very afraid of the um, future in terms of like the music scene, the cultural scene, the jazz scene. Like especially as a large ensemble and composer. I work with many people. You can't and you can't fit a symphony orchestra with like 2 meter distance. Like it's not going to work. And in that sense, I'm definitely very afraid of what's going to happen in the coming months, years. In that sense, that's something definitely that's been on my mind a lot. And besides that, yeah, I think I would just be afraid to not be able to create anymore what I want to create. That's definitely like a very scary thing at the moment, I would say. Many reasons, I think. First of all, I guess, the very obvious, the money thing, I guess, like, it's like always saying, business is business, in that sense. But that's, of course, not the most important thing, like, but that's definitely a reason. Second of all, I think the biggest reason, I think, was also just, being in pandemic, I had a lot of time, and it was really nice to have something again to work on, to put time into, to focus on. Like, I was really happy to, like, receive the job offer again, because it was like at least like half a year where I didn't get any commitment to the whole because no concerts, no nothing, so nothing was happening. So then someone was like, hey, can you write something for me? I was like, yes, yeah, of course, like, it's exciting, it's nice. And then also because like specifically this job was like this project was interesting because I never really did anything like this before, like writing something for like a piece of clothing / fashion / art. Like I never really had to write something like this for that. So it was, for me, it was really challenging and very exciting also because I never really did something like this. So it was. I think the last two were like the biggest reasons, I would definitely say. Yeah. Hopefully the same. Definitely. Yeah. I'm afraid of getting old in that sense. Not because of the age, but because of the mindset, I think. And I definitely wanna stay 7, if that makes sense. People always say I'm a very immature person. I always take it like as a big compliment in that sense. So I think I like to do stupid things, especially when it comes to music and projects and such. And hopefully I will still be doing the same in 10 years. Yeah. To first say a few things I really liked, for example, about the thing was that I had a lot of freedom, like artistic freedom, which I think is really special because you don't often get that at a commission. When people tell you, like, just do whatever you want, I felt that's really nice. Having a bit more direction would be nice, also in communication, being a bit more clear, and like, hey, this is going to be what it's going to be, and that's the whole thing. Because now it was a bit like, I wrote the song, and then like, yeah, I want to do a photo shoot also. I was like, oh, photo shoot also, and I didn't talk about it before, and an interview, like, oh, also that, in that sense, like a lot of things kind of like in the moment, like unexpected, which is fine. But now I don't have a lot of time, so I can like take an afternoon to interview. But if I'm like super busy, I don't usually have time for this kind of things, to be honest. So in that sense, I think it was sometimes a bit too spontaneous and a bit too a lot of I felt firstly that it was like I felt a bit pressured to participate in these kind of things, even though I didn't know about these things happening when I said yes and of course in that sense. But I won't say that's like a bad thing. It was just like, if I have to say something, that's what I would say, I guess. But that's like, generally it was a very pleasant experience. So, like it's not like I'm upset about it or something. I'm generally not like a very upset person about anything. I'm very chill. So in that sense, it's not something to worry about also. Definitely. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. I wrote it specifically for this. I thought that since for the project you had like a classical composer and like you asked me to do the jazz composition, I thought it would be like really nice to write something which could be like played at a concert with like any kinds of musicians. So if like a saxophone player wants to join in, it's possible. If like a violin player wants to, if a didgeridoo player wants to join in, everyone is welcome, you know. I've made sure there's like a big section for soloing, and like the melody is like, you know, you can just transpose it to your instrument and then everyone can play it in that sense. So I hope people will play. That would be great. Yeah, I mean, I would love to play myself also. I mean, if the opportunity arises, of course. And yeah, no, for sure.